On this video, we're going to compare the Hisense U6N to the Hisense U7N. Both of these TVs use mini LED technology, both TVs have Dolby Vision, and both TVs are powered by the Google operating system. By the end of this video, you'll know which one is the best one for you and your family. Let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about is the U6N. The model I'm going to be using today is a 65-inch that has up to 6,000 nits of peak brightness. It has a traditional feet that can be adjusted from the center for small stands and over to the side for wider stands. It supports the hands-free Google operating system, but as you notice, there's going to be some lights if you mute the microphone. The 65 is a 60 Hz native panel that can support up to 240 motion rate. The U7N is also a VA panel, but it uses the Mini LED Pro panel. And this panel supports up to 1500 nits of peak brightness, which is known to give you better highlights, especially on HDR content. And we'll do some tests a little bit later on in the video. The U7N has a floating type base, and one thing I want to point out is that for the Google voice commands, it only has a single LED, so it's not going to be as annoying to you. Both TVs do have a contrast ratio of 5001, and both TVs support Dolby Vision IQ, HDR10, HLG, and HDR10 Plus. No comparison is perfect, but we'll do our best to show you the differences so you can make the best decision for yourself. Now, when it comes to the operating system, both TVs are pretty snappy, as you can see right here, and sorry if it's getting blurry for you. But let's go see what differences we have inside of the menus so we can see which TV has the most features. Now, of course, we already know that the U7N is going to have more options, but what are those options? The first thing I want to show you is the inputs. As you can see, the U7N does support enhanced 144 Hz and 240 Hz, but what does that mean? It means that that television can support up to those different hertz using variable refresh rate. Now, you will see some adjustments on these cameras because the U7N is a much brighter television, so I'm trying to adjust to that TV so you can see the real brightness of these televisions. And to give you an idea, this is in standard mode on both televisions. Now, the U7N does have more features when it comes to the settings. For example, if you look at the U6N, we have theater mode and filmmakers mode. When it comes to the U7N, we have theater day, theater night, and we have filmmakers mode. So that's going to give you a lot more options when it comes to that. To make the comparison a little bit more fair, I'm going to leave it on theater night mode, but you can see on theater day mode, the U7N will get much brighter. So again, there's no perfect way to do these type of videos, but I'm going to do the best I can to make sure that this comparison is fair as possible. A few things I want to point out is that the U7N not only has calibration settings, but whenever you go into these settings, this one also supports CalMan services. And this allows you to use a computer to automatically calibrate it so you don't have to manually do it. Where the U6N, you'll have to manually adjust the calibration, so it might not be as accurate because you'll have to use your discretion when calibrating. Now, when it comes to sound, the U7N does have a subwoofer on the back of it. In addition to that, it does have this other feature called WiSA speaker settings. And this allows you to use rear speakers or different audio systems wirelessly, so you do have more options on the U7N. Now, if we go into the game setting, there's a few differences here. For example, the U7N does support AMD FreeSync Premium Pro, where you can see on the U6N, it doesn't support that feature. But the U6N is going to be great for gaming, but for the average user. Both TVs are using Android 12, which is the latest and greatest. And when it comes to storage, the U6N, you're looking at 5.9 gigs versus 19 gigs in the U7N. Both TVs will support ambient mode, so you can always have an art gallery on your screen. Both of them has power energy saving modes, and both TVs you can cast to them from your Android device. Another feature that both TVs have is Apple AirPlay and HomeKit, so you can control them with Siri. But the U7N does have this smart camera feature, and it allows you to hook up a USB camera to it, and you can do gestures with your hand where the U6N doesn't have that feature. They both have the exact same app store, and that's about as far as we want to go into showing you this operating system. And just so you know, if you're in UK, you probably have Vita operating system, where this is Google operating system, so a lot of things I'm going to show you are not compatible. Switching over to YouTube TV to do some picture tests, both TVs are in sports mode with the factory settings. Now, keep in mind, you will notice a difference in brightness on the U7N, which I did tell you about earlier. Now, when it comes to sporting events, the TV's tones are very similar. The difference that you're going to see is just that brightness, and you can see that it does make a huge difference in the picture quality overall. The biggest thing you're going to notice again is that brightness difference of the television, so that makes a huge improvement on the overall picture quality. So far, looking at these TVs side by side, I would say that I would be happy with either one, just watching your everyday sporting event, and both of them looks pretty clean using a 1080p signal. In some cases, I think I would probably even have to turn down the U7N's brightness to even match the U6N, because I think the grass looks a little bit more natural on the U6N, but both of these TVs are performing at a very high level, and I think you'll be happy with either one. Both TVs are in SDR mode, and I'll show you some of the picture profiles so you can see the difference in the brightness. Now, I will say that the U6N is in theater mode and the U7N is in theater night mode. To show you the brightness and the TV's differences, I'm going to adjust the camera for each setting. So right now, both TVs are in vivid mode, which is the brightest, unaccurate scene that you're going to get, but it does bring in a lot of details if you like that bright picture. Here's both TVs in standard mode. You can definitely see where those higher nits ratings are going to show off in the U7N. And here's the difference in the brightness of the theater mode on the U6N and the theater day mode on the U7N. As you can see, the theater day mode is going to be a much brighter picture. Next, I switched the U7N over to theater night mode, and as you can see, they look very similar, and that's why I'm using that on this video. And the last setting I want to show you is filmmakers mode that you have on both televisions. And again, the picture looks very similar to me. I don't know if I can tell any type of differences. Now I switched over to HDR mode. This is both televisions in HDR vivid mode. And it looks like the U6N is bringing out a lot more colors than the U7N for some reason. But that's pretty interesting to see these differences on these televisions. Here's HDR standard mode, HDR theater mode, and filmmakers mode on both televisions. And I also want to point out that the U7N does support IMAX mode, so it does have more settings in it. And if you've ever been to a movie theater, we all know IMAX is a beautiful looking picture. And I also want to show you what it looks like if I crank up the ISO on my camera so you can see a little more difference. As you can see there, it does blow out all of the menus, so that's why I keep it kind of low. But look at the difference in the picture quality. Now, as far as shadow details and things like that, I can definitely see a little more shadow details in the U7N, especially on that black bar right by his head. But in my opinion, I think both TVs have a really good picture. It's just the U7N is going to be that much brighter, which is a theme here on this video. So here's both TVs in HDR mode. Just want to show you a few examples of it. And both TVs look really good. I mean, here live, you definitely can see the highlights coming out better in the U7N. The same theme I've been using throughout this video. But I will say that the U6N is no slouch. It actually has some pretty good colors to it. Except when you get in scenes like this, you can see that you will lose a lot of those shadow details. So that brightness in the U7N is definitely going to show that difference in the brightness where you can get all the highlights and you're not going to miss anything. Plus, if you need to, you can turn the TV down as far as the brightness and still be able to have a room to play and wiggle with, just in case you want to have the TV a little bit brighter on certain scenes. Now we're going to do some gaming, but the thing I want you to look at the colors on these different scenes. The sky on the U7N is much brighter and detailed. And by the way, it's hard to play this on ice, but I think both TVs can perform good, especially at 60 frames per second. But if you really want to get seriously into the gaming, get the U7N, your PS5, Xbox, or PC, hook up your HDMI 2.1 cable, and you're ready to go.
This is a Tech Steve's audio test for the next few moments. Sit quietly and experience the range of this TV's audio capabilities as we test the boundaries of sound.
Now, if you worry about motion, I just want to show you this test without going to the settings, but this is both TVs in vivid mode, and you can see that the U7N is going to be a little bit smoother. We go down to the standard mode, again, it is smoother, but keep in mind the U6N is 240 motion rate, where the U7N is 480 motion rate, so it should be smoother overall. I want to show you both these TVs as far as upscaling. This is a 480p signal, and as you can see, it looks great. The upscaling on both televisions doing a great job. And if you're getting a blurry picture, chances are you're using old services. I know a lot of people definitely enjoy the old technology of analog, but when it comes to digital and having the best picture on new 4K televisions, you're gonna definitely need something that's better than what you've been using in the past. So in my opinion, if you decide to buy a new 4K television, you want to go back to the drawing board and make sure to get a picture like what you're seeing on both these TVs, that you have upgraded your cable service, use streaming apps, and use 4K whenever possible, because it looks amazing on these new televisions. When it comes to glare, both TVs are pretty equal, so you're going to get the same type of reflection of both TVs. And since both TVs are vertical alignment panels, you're going to get some coloration off axis. But for me, the U6N seems to look a lot better from the side than the U7N. Overall, I'm liking the picture on both TVs, and if you want to get that extra brightness, it's definitely worth going with the U7N. But as far as the tones, I think both TVs are pretty close. The U6N does appear to have a little bit better contrast, and that's mainly because the brightness level in the television. But if you adjust the U7N down to the same level, both TVs are going to look very equal. But again, like I said before, the U7N with the extra nits on it is going to bring out a lot more highlights and brightness, especially for those dark HDR scenes. And in my opinion, it's worth the extra money just to get that brightness, especially if you plan on watching movies a lot. So in my opinion, the U6N is a great television for your casual user, your casual gamer, and it's going to work great for most people. But if you want to go to the U7N, it's going to be better for gamers, it's going to be brighter for movies, and the fact that this TV has up to 144 Hertz, the new design, I think this television is going to be a step above, and it's one of those things that if you buy this TV, you won't be regretting it later thinking about the brightness after seeing this video. So that's what I think about these two TVs. I showed you guys everything you need to know. If you guys are interested, I'll leave all the links in the description below so you can go look at other reviews, and you can also purchase it if you like to support the channel. That's all we got on this video. I'm Tech Steve. Make sure you subscribe. Our goal is 200,000 subscribers by the end of 2024, and we're 1,500 away. So if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And with that being said, catch you guys on the next one. Peace.